You won't be able to go Beatty pretty soon.
Oh, yeah?
With the culvert project they're gonna be doing.
It's gonna be shut down.
Yeah, actually, I'll have to see, it'll be done by our September
Everything else
meeting.
coming? No,
No, we're good.
Is that right?
Yeah,
we've got Terry on the phone, right?
Terry's on the phone. Terry. Let's go.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. And, in your packet, you have the minutes from the July 13th meeting. If you've had a chance to take a look at it, I'll take a motion to accept those minutes.
I will motion.
Motion by Kristen,
I'll second.
second by Darlene. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Carry on.
carries.
Dan.
Is Terry on there?
Hey, Dan. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Oh, Dan's here. Might as well wait for Dan.
Oh, there he is, okay.
You're fine.
Good, now you got a real caller.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning.
Morning, Dan.
Good morning. Perfect timing. Okay. Approve the minutes, that's it.
There.
All right. Treasurer's report, Kristen?
Okay.
In your packet.
We'll start with a statement of cash transactions for July. We started off with about $1.9 million in total cash between savings and checkings. We earned $4,774 in interest. We paid out $12,933 in disbursements. And two of those disbursements, Seaman Morris and Kathleen Carter, were actually accrued in the June statements and paid in July, so you will not see those on the income statement. Coming down to a balance of $1,925,367, which tracks right to the balance sheet.
Good.
Okay. The income statement for July, again, the interest that you saw on the cash, along with expenses of about $4,658 to have a slight net profit of $116. Nothing really out of the ordinary on expenses.
The meeting expense, we went through, I checked with Kate, it was our one-year Buffalo News subscription and two like leftover meals from the Cooperstown trip that I was on, so that was it, nothing
Okay.
exciting.
Awesome, and then finally the balance sheet, you see the cash balance that we discussed with the prepaid of $70, no change in our property and equipment. Bonds payable, again, according to the amortization schedule and the same as last month. The accrued GM litigation to come to a total fund balance of about $1.6 million. Any questions? Okay.
All right, that was nice.
All right.
All right, we'll take a motion to accept the financial statements as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Darlene, second by Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Okay.
The invoices and bills.
All right, the invoices and bills you have in your packet as well. 6,000, we're requesting approval for $6,000 of payments for August, consisting of, as you can see, our normal Toshiba mileage for July, our NICEAG for the Enterprise Drive sign, the Ulrich signs they repaired, we were invoiced, and the monthly contract, and Albany Hilton to the town of Lockport.
That was taking the taxes off, because somebody didn't bring their tax exempt sheet with them.
Ah, it's a pain in the neck to remember, it really is.
I should just put them in the truck and just have them, but.
Not a bad idea. Okay, and that's it, so all set for August?
You gotta make a
Oh,
motion.
okay, I would like a motion to approve the bills.
Okay, you got a motion by Kristen to pay the bills,
I'll second it.
second by Darlene. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, Administrative Director's report.
Just before I go through the items, I don't know how much you pay attention to the bottom of our Administrative Director's report, the marketing report. I just thought it noteworthy that if you look from the prior month, which June 3rd to July 2nd, it was 143 sessions, and from July 5th to August 3rd, 323 sessions, and similar huge uptick in the page views. I think that's 100% attributable to the whole CD plastics and what people, outside that maybe are unfamiliar with us, were trying to become familiar with us, but I still thought it was interesting nonetheless. Aviant building sale update, all I can tell you is that finally all bids, whatever number that's going to be, were due at the end of the day, like last Friday. So I would hope that that decision will get made fairly soon. I'm aware of one local in the park company that did make a bid. I'm not certain if the Canadian company that I had been dealing with made a bid or not, but thankfully, very soon we'll have a sense of who now has control of that building, and we can begin to work with them. The Up North hosting update, just to let you know, we did go ahead when they were in the park and had them, our lawnsmith contractor, brush hog their lawn. They are paying us for that. It was $200. They are supposedly selecting a new lawn mowing company, but that's neither here nor there. Somewhat on the surprise, we had talked before about how the Emerson Renwick facility was going to be going for sale and that they were going to find more of a small office and small service center for their ongoing operations. As far as I know, that building was never up for sale in the way that we all know about it, but it's been sold. I've talked to the new owners. It's a little strange. It's Watson Enterprises out of Albion that are, at least as I know them, much more of a contractor than a developer. But as I've talked to Eric Watson, they see themselves as a developer. They have no immediate plans and or tenants for the building. I have one entity, once we meet face-to-face, that I might recommend to them to consider. But I don't know how that sale took place or how there was maybe some sort of a inside connection, but it's currently now owned by Watson Enterprises, if you want to know. And I don't yet know, I haven't stopped off to talk to Chris Waite to see when they're actually moving out. Told you that the whole park's summer brush hogging's done. You have in your packet, I think I sent it before to you, the notice on the Moley Industries open house, especially for Kristen and Terry, who haven't had a chance to be there. Some of us that have been either on the board or I'm there fairly regularly, it'd be good to take advantage of the open house. I am going to grab a group of the town officials to go. Once that time's set, I'll let all of you know, and we can either all be there together or go whenever it fits your schedule. But I'd encourage you to go just because it's an easy way to get there. And then lastly, I did attend the job fair that Niagara County Employment and Training hosted at the Day Road Park. Park worked fine for it. That's not really the point. I would say approximately 80 companies. I think I might have actually emailed you the list. Unfortunately, none of those companies were any of the companies that we support. And I say unfortunately because I had certainly promoted the opportunity to them, and certainly, not that that would surprise any of you, anytime I chat with them, their number one issue is, we can't find people. Now, I didn't see like a busload of potential employees attending, at least when I was there, but there were certainly some, but it just was frustrating to me that none of them chose to be there. I think I mentioned to you that even from the town as a whole, only Cornerstone and like Basil, Toyota, and Volkswagen were the only town entities represented. But be that as it may, it was relatively successful. And I'll circle back to Don Jablonski, and hopefully they'll continue to do that.
I spoke to him last night, and he said they fully intend to have it there again. He felt it was a pretty nice site and very successful for them.
Good.
And then GM was there too, right, Tom?
Jim,
Yes, they were.
Yeah, which was telling. I mean, if you got GM that for the longest time could just snap their finger and have thousands of people show up. And and it was not for the EV. I stopped and talked to them. It's just to backfill openings and probably fill in for the mid-sized pickup work that they got starting like a year or so ago. So, I think that's it for me. That's it.
All right, thanks, Tom. All right, moving on, attorney's report, Tom.
There's a farming agreement that you have in your packet. It needs a couple little tweaks and alterations, so ultimately we'll have, if you want to move forward on it, a motion contingent on attorney approval of the contract, but the land in question is the property over on Rapids Road that we obtained from the town of Lockport. Right now, it's really vacant land that's been farmed by a Mr. Miller for a number of years. He had a contract with the town of Lockport when the town owned that property, and he was doing the agreement at that time, and it was, I don't know, at least 15 years old. He was essentially performing farming practices, mowing the lawn, hay, baling the property for just the consideration of doing it, to keep it cleared and not filled up with, brush. So it essentially keeps it cleaned out, preventing it from becoming wetlands. That has been the practice for a number of years. That contract kind of technically expired, but just turned into a rolling contract. We'd like to renew it, just get some updated terms into the contract and have it renewed. I know Tom has had an opportunity to go visit the property with the farmer. I was unable to attend myself, but he's got some obstacles with regard to farming. It's not as easy of a parcel to farm as the 10 acres that we have right at the IDA Park, although it's a similar size. The IDA Park one is quite easy to access and readily farmable, and we receive $500 a year in consideration for that. So the question for the board is ultimately what's the cost? Somewhere probably between $0 and $500 a year would be the right number. I'm sure Tom has some ideas.
Yeah, and I would echo that, is it Mud Creek or Bull Creek? I think it's Mud Creek, isn't it? That runs in such a way between Rapids and the property that, maybe in the middle of August when it's not like this year that you could walk your way across it, but there is a very narrow, I'm not even going to call it a bridge. I mean, it's really like some giant tiles or something that you can barely fit across. And we went across on a gator, not a mower. I think as you look at the rest of that property, whether it's the mature woodlands off to the east or scrub and some of that off to the south where the housing development is, this has, regularly been actively farmed. And the thing I would remind everybody is that, for the most part, the one reason we purchased that land was if and when there's something on the GM land that necessitates habitat swap, that this land would work for it. But it only works for it if it's grasslands, which is a comparable, habitat to what is over on the GM land. So, beyond, quote, saving us money like the O-Haul does and the park, to have somebody else brush hog it, in this case, it's really keeping it to a point where those 10 acres are a viable, habitat swap for us. And you can see in a few areas where maybe it had been farmed before, that didn't take long for saplings and other things to pop up. So my suggestion on the contract is $100. Now, I'm only doing that just because I think it's that balance between something so that there's quote-unquote consistency and so on, but not enough to not be recognizing the value we get out of that being farmed, so.
Right.
It was zero money before, right?
Yeah.
It was $0 before, yeah.
Well, I think that, I think I do that contract, and definitely the consideration of keeping it mowed is ample.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, otherwise you'd have to pay somebody to
Yeah.
come in and brush hog.
Yeah.
So,
That's fine. Yeah. That's good. Cool.
Will the rest of the board
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
$0 exchange just for the consideration of mowing it and keeping it down.
Yeah.
Let's take a motion to offer that contract contingent on attorney drafting the contract at a $0 rate for the consideration of.
$1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$1.
There you go.
Responsibility to keep it mowed down, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Correct,
consideration.
and it also includes, importantly, some defense and indemnification and additional insured status for the town of Lockport IDA, so that's important as well.
With that explanation, I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Darlene. Second by Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then I have a number of things, but I'd ask for them to be addressed in executive session under a consultation with attorney, as well as to discuss ongoing litigation.
Okay, all right, thanks, Tom. Any old business? Any new business?
I'll just quickly, before I forget, point out to you the last thing in your packet is the economic impact of state IDAs. It's worth a skim, but let me just set the context. Every year, for the most part, the New York State Controller's Office takes a look at the Paris reports and kind of just presents numbers straight up. This Cammy and Associates is an economic development consultant for New York State. In fact, when we looked at our cost-benefit analysis, they were kind of the alternative entity. All that to say that this is much more in-depth than the controller, and it tends to try and take a look at the broader impacts. So I'd encourage you to read it. I'll keep it on file, but I think it's helpful. And I do think you're going to see the New York State Economic Development Council use some of this for some ramped-up pushback against some of the anti-IDA stuff you started to see, including some I sent you this week. So that's in your packet.
All right. So this time I'll take a motion to move into executive session for consultation with the attorney.
Have a motion?
Motion by Kristen,
Second.
second by Darlene. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Hi, Phil.
Well, I asked him to stay just for a couple minutes.
Sure. All right.
We'll take a motion to move out of exec.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Darlene. Next meeting is Thursday, September 14th, 8 a.m. If no questions, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll do that motion.
All right, motion by Kristen, second by Dan. All right, meeting's adjourned.
All right, appreciate it, everybody.
Who are you?